It is not at all unusual to hear sales leaders talk about their salespeople, some of them, in terms of accountability. Well, they're just not accountable, or they don't own their results. They don't appear to be as engaged as they should be. Well, do you know why they're not accountable? If that's your perception of them, do you know why? Or do you just assume, hey, some people are accountable and some people are not? Well, would it surprise you very much if I suggested that you, the sales leader, are the problem? This is Sales Untraining, a very different kind of sales podcast. 3 out of 4 salespeople are failing. They're falling short of their revenue. Why doesn't sales training work? That's what this sales podcast is about. It's your weekly sales strategy guide designed to rewire your sales brain. Welcome to Sales Untraining. I'm Kelly Riggs. This is your weekly sales strategy guide designed to rewire your sales brain. Well, your sales training brain at the very least, but thanks for joining me. Great to have you. And I hope this isn't your first time to tune in, but if it is, welcome. Love to ask you to like and subscribe to the podcast, assuming you hear some things that you like, as we discuss the systemic causes of sales failure. The reality is, the vast majority of salespeople are not very good. And that's not my opinion. That's what the numbers say. And if that's the case, I start to deep dive, do an analysis, and look inside the machine, as it were, to see what is wrong. And systemically, there are tons of problems. Well, today, I want to talk about one of those systemic problems, accountability, which is not the first time that I've had this conversation from various perspectives. But I do have a particular way of endearing myself to salespeople, don't I? Or sales leaders, I should say, because I say, hey, you know what? Your people aren't accountable. You ever thought about maybe it's you? Yes, well, I'm not trying to be insulting. I am, however, trying to get you to think about the root causes of some of the issues that we encounter on a regular basis. 20 years I've been doing this, and for 20 years, I routinely run into sales leaders who talk about accountability. And it always sounds like so-and-so's not accountable. So-and-so doesn't take ownership of their results. My people just don't take ownership, and on it goes. But the challenge is to understand why there is a lack of accountability. And I think there's a misunderstanding about accountability, because most sales leaders, at least in my experience in talking with them, feel like you either have it or you don't. You're either an accountable person or you're not. And certainly they typically feel that way because that's the kind of people they are. They don't have to be told. They pick up the ball and they run with it. They do the things that are necessary. But there are actually a whole lot of reasons why people are not accountable that, yes, has everything to do with the leader. And what I want to do is show you 4 things that you're doing, 4 ways that you can create as the leader a lack of accountability. And it's based on excuses, most of those excuses that we hear. I mean, after all, what are the most common excuses for failure, or a lack of engagement, or a lack of intensity, or a lack of focus, whatever it may be? And you're having a conversation, and people have a lot of excuses. It sounds like this. Well, the most common one is, I didn't know. I mean, I didn't understand that's what you wanted. I wasn't clear. I thought you meant this, or I thought you wanted that. And that's a lack of clarity. The second one, well, yeah, when it comes right down to it, I don't really know how to do that, at least not well, or I don't have the confidence to try to strike out on my own and do it. And that, my friends, is a lack of capability, and that's a training issue. Third excuse that we hear a lot, I hear it from all levels in an organization, from salespeople to sales managers to sales leaders to sales executives. It quite often the excuse that's used is, well, I didn't have time. Well, as managers, we never accept that, although we offer it to our boss, and he often offers it to his or her boss, and so it goes up the ladder. And the reality is, sometimes time is really the problem. That's a whole nother conversation. But let's talk a lot about the excuses and why they are there. The first one is really critical. The one mistake that we make as leaders is a lack of clarity. We don't communicate effectively about what we really want, what we really expect, and we don't give really good information that includes all of the necessary parameters of doing something. For example, many times I see people are very frustrated because something's not done. And then when I talk to the salesperson or the employee, they'll say, well, I just hadn't got around to it yet, or I didn't feel like I knew exactly when it was due, or, they just said, as soon as you can get to it. Oh, my favorite, as soon as possible. Yeah, it's lovely how we use words and phrases sometimes that actually don't communicate specifically the things that we want. Who's responsible for communicating in a way that's crystal clear, that people don't have any ambiguity whatsoever? Well, that would be me. And listen, many times you think you are setting very clear expectations or communicating very clearly, and you're not. Well, we can talk about that. Just understand that when you don't set expectations in a very specific way, then you leave it up to people to interpret what they think you mean. And I see it all the time. For example, the one that I use a lot that's very easy and people hear it all the time is, well, listen, you need to get focused. Okay. I mean, what does that even mean? When should it start? How much focus should I provide? And on and on. Many times we're substituting emotional intensity for clarity, and we're not being crystal clear. That's one of the reasons that people will appear unaccountable, because they're operating in the gray. They're not really sure. And so it either slows things down or it prevents them from operating with urgency and many other things that go with that. Who's responsible? I am, the leader. Number 2 is when people don't know how, or they don't have the confidence of the skills that you think that they have. And that is always a leadership issue. Always. My responsibility is to train my people and develop their skills so that they know exactly how to do what I'm asking them to do. Assuming I've been clear, then they have to know exactly how to do it. Boy, I see this major example when it comes to prospecting. You need to be out building your pipeline. You need to grow your pipeline. You need to prospect. You need to be spending more time prospecting. Not altogether clear, but even if it was, a lot of people, a lot of salespeople, they don't know how to prospect. Now, you might go, hang on a second, Kelly. I mean, seriously, professional salesperson, they don't know how to prospect? Absolutely. They don't know how to locate, identify high value, high probability opportunities. They don't know how to do the first calls. They don't know how to build a conversation. They have a certain call reluctance, and all salespeople, almost without exception, have a certain amount of call reluctance. For some people, it's significant. They don't like walking into strange doors, being told no repeatedly. They don't like failure. It paralyzes them. And yet they'll go, yes, okay, I need to be doing that. Are you actually working with your people and training them how to do the very specific things that you're asking for? Well, number 3, again, that's a leadership problem. Number 3 is when I don't create the kind of atmosphere that's conducive to excellence. If I don't recognize and reward people, if I don't encourage them, if I don't give them recognition for the things that they've done, if I don't build a culture that's uplifting and encouraging and allows people to be their best, if I don't create autonomy and the confidence in doing their job, if they're not challenged, if they're not growing, and on it goes. Creating a culture of excellence, whose fault is that? Whose responsibility is that? You're right. It's the leader. Well, a lot of salespeople, sales managers will say, I'm not here to hold their hand. If they don't have what it takes, if they're not motivated, then that's not my problem. Well, hang on a second, because if you've been crystal clear and they know exactly how to do it, they're good at it, and they're still not doing it, you're right. It's a motivation issue. And sometimes you're right. It is the salesperson. which is failure number 4, because after all, who hired them? Did you hire someone that you did not identify, that they don't have the grit, the tenacity, the desire, the discipline to actually learn and change and grow as a result? Again, that comes back to me. But back to number 3, I mean, clearly people can be demotivated by the leader. You don't create that culture that makes me want to get in there and work at my best, work at my hardest. Because again, if your expectations are crystal clear and they know how to do it and they're not doing it well, they're not doing it with urgency or intensity, you're right. That's a motivation problem. But sales leader, you could be the source of the demotivation. But then again, number 4, did you just hire the wrong person? That they don't have what you're looking for. But I need to be clear that there are a lot of people who are highly motivated who would be accountable under the right circumstances. And because of our failures as a leader, they appear not to be accountable. Listen, I highly, highly recommend the book by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin called Extreme Ownership. It is an incredible read. And what it says in a nutshell is until you're willing to look at yourself, you'll never find solutions to help your team or your people be better because you're constantly putting the responsibility on them. Well, coming up next, we're going to talk about one thing you absolutely cannot do if you want your people to be accountable. Stay with me. Thanks for joining me on Sales Untraining. It's not unusual for me to get a call or an email from someone saying, hey, I've got a question about a specific sales challenge that I'm experiencing. Do you ever take calls just to kick around some ideas? Well, typically the answer is, wow, I wish I had the time to do that, but I've decided to actually set that time aside now for a limited time to take some very specific calls just to talk about a specific sales challenge. What you can do is go to blkr.co/30. Go to that URL, you'll find my calendar, book a 30-minute call, and we'll talk about a specific sales challenge that you have in mind. You know, outside of the chain of command, you just need an outside perspective. Well, that's what I'm for, and we can have that conversation. Look, no selling, not interested in any of that. This is all about you. Let's talk about something that's going on in your world. The last time I did this was last fall, and I booked over 25 conversations with people, and they were fantastic conversations about very specific sales challenges. If you want to have a conversation, talk about a specific challenge to you, blkr.co/30. Now back to the show. I would suggest that you have more planning meetings, that you spend more time as a group talking about ideas and thoughts and what can we do differently and how can we change things. Just brainstorming ideas and being together and encouraging each other through that medium of being innovative and flexible and coming up with some new ideas can really make a difference in the mindset of your team. Welcome back to Sales Untraining. Well, if you're truly serious about creating a culture in which your salespeople are accountable, it begins and ends with you, the sales leader. Yes, it's hard. I mean, it is, to me, being a sales leader might be the most difficult role to play in any organization. The pressure from above, the pressure from below is enormous. There's always that pressure to produce, to perform, and oftentimes it causes us to do things we absolutely know we shouldn't do, but we feel like, oh, well, what am I going to do? Many times we hire someone that we settle for because we need someone right now. We fail to do training and development effectively because, well, we're just too busy and we don't have time. And that's a real thing. We're on that hamster wheel. We can never find the time to get off and actually do development effectively. So what do? We expect our salespeople to be accountable. After all, I was, as a sales leader, I was accountable. Why can't my people be accountable? And then I hear the inevitable commentary. You just can't find good people. People aren't They don't have the work ethic they used to. This younger generation, they just don't have it. Are there some instances where all of those things are true? Sure, but it becomes the de facto excuse for everything. And my friends, that's the one thing you absolutely cannot do if you want to create a culture of accountability. You can't blame your representatives. You can't blame your salespeople. Okay, are you done? I know some of you are screaming at me. Really? Yeah, you just can't. I mean, think about it. When you don't make a sale, when your salespeople don't make a sale, would you accept it if the salesperson came back and said, my customer is an idiot. They don't have any idea what they're doing. You know why I can't hit my number? Because of those silly customers. I was going to use a harsher word, but you get the idea. We wouldn't blame the customer when we don't get a sale. At least not if we want to improve, at least not if we want to reach the top 10%, because that's what mediocre salespeople do. That's what below average performers do. They find excuses, they blame others. But you won't accept that from your salespeople. Why would you accept it from yourself? When your salespeople aren't accountable and they're not performing, the worst thing you can do is go, well, my salespeople don't get it. You just can't find good salespeople. It's the salesperson's fault. Well, that's never going to happen. You're never going to hit the big time. You're never going to create a high-performance team because, listen to me now, if you're the kind of person that makes excuses for low performance, do you really think that you're going to recruit, train, develop, and retain high-performance salespeople? They're going to hear the excuses, and pretty soon you've lowered the bar. You've created a way for people to not reach their potential. You're not continually urging them to be better and improve. You've got an excuse, my friend. They will have an excuse as well. And when you look at your salespeople and go, the reason people aren't accountable is it's them. It's their problem. It's your failure to look internally. Are you really serious? I mean, are you genuinely serious about creating accountability? If so, you've got to look in the mirror. I had a recent experience with a gentleman who is working with his sales team. And when they would bring problems and challenges to him, his immediate response was always, well, that's BS. That's BS. No, that's BS. And I finally asked him, I said, okay, so it is BS. Let's just assume for the sake of argument, you're 100% right, and it is. Can you tell me how that's helping you? I mean, when they bring you something, you don't listen, you don't absorb, you don't try to understand, you don't try to find solutions. You simply look at them and say, well, that's BS. I mean, how is that helpful? Because the last time I checked, being right about anything is not the objective. The objective is to win sales, to win deals, to improve your salespeople's capabilities. It's to be effective. Being right is not my objective as a sales manager. So when somebody comes to me and there's something that they're claiming is wrong or doesn't work or we don't do well, if I just go, that's BS, how are you improving that salesperson? You're not. You're not coaching them. You're not developing them. You're not helping them rationally work through the problem, find the solution that you already know is the right solution. And your lack of ability to listen and to really empathize with where they are, many times they're wrong, but that's their perception. How is that helpful? Again, I go back to the premise. The one thing you cannot do if you want to create accountability is to blame your salespeople. Oh, listen, don't get me wrong, and please don't hear something I'm not saying. I don't want to hold hands and sing kumbaya around the campfire. I don't. I have very high standards. The boundaries are clear. But as the leader, I'm responsible for the culture, and I'm responsible for their performance. And when they perform well and they kill it, they get all the credit. But conversely, when we're not performing as a leader, I have to take that responsibility. Hey, I hope that helps. Let's go work at it together. This is Sales Untraining. I'll see you next time.
Sales Untraining is a production of Business Locker Room and Pod About It Productions. Music and editing by Doug Branson. To get more Kelly, visit bizlockerroom.com.